The middle class has always been marketed as the American dream. Nice house, 2 cars, white picket fence, stable job, but what nobody tells you is that it's actually a treadmill. You're basically running full speed just to stay in place, while the rich lap you and the poor, at least, know the game is rigged. So my goal for this video is to completely break down the 10 brutal truths about why being middle class is worse than you think, and more importantly, how to avoid getting trapped here for life. Because the truth is, you've been lied to. Everyone told you being middle class was the safe zone, the sweet spot between poor and rich. Well, here's the ugly truth. Being middle class is actually the biggest trap in the entire system. Why? Because you're too broke to live free, and just rich enough to stay stuck. In the next few minutes, you'll realize the middle class isn't a prize. It's a paycheck-to-paycheck prison disguised as stability. Reason number 1, the illusion of security, the false safety net. Let's start with the most dangerous lie of all, security. And to be completely honest, middle-class life tricks you into thinking you're safe. You've got a steady paycheck, some benefits, maybe a 401k, and that white picket fence mortgage. But here's the punchline. One layoff, one medical emergency, or one recession. And that whole safety net snaps like a cheap rubber band. Want proof? Well, think about this. Nearly 60% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing money. That's not security. That's survival with Wi-Fi. Being middle class is like walking on a frozen lake. Looks solid until you realize the ice is paper thin and one wrong step puts you underwater. And here's the thing. The system knows you're stuck. Banks shove credit cards in your face. Car dealerships lock you into 7-year loans. Employers pay you just enough to survive, not enough to thrive. The middle class isn't secure. It's a carefully engineered hamster wheel. And if you think the illusion of security is bad, wait until you see how the middle class gets robbed in broad daylight without even realizing it. Because next up, we're talking about taxes, the topic nobody wants to touch on. Reason number 2, taxes, the silent wealth killer. Pay attention to what I'm about to say, because here's the dirty secret nobody tells the middle class. You pay the highest percentage of your income in taxes. Yep, the very group sold as financially stable is actually the government's favorite ATM. Think about it. The poor don't pay much because they don't have much. The rich, they've got tax loopholes, lawyers, offshore accounts, trusts, and deductions that turn their tax bill into monopoly money. But the middle class? You're the perfect target. You earn just enough to get smacked by every tax bracket. Income tax, payroll tax, property tax, sales tax, gas tax, but not enough to hire a team of accountants to dodge them. It's like showing up to a gunfight with a Nerf gun. You can't win. And look, I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you make $60,000 a year, nearly 30% of that can vanish before you even see it. You're paying for wars, potholes, and politicians' second yachts. And you don't even get a thank you card. And don't even get me started on tax refunds. That's not free money. That's your own cash being held hostage for a year. Then the IRS hands it back like they're doing you a favor. Imagine giving your friend $1,000 and then celebrating when they give it back months later with no interest. That's not a win. That's financial Stockholm Syndrome. And if you thought taxes were painful, wait until you see how debt quietly chains the middle class to their cubicles. Because the next trap isn't about the money you lose, it's about the money you owe. Reason number 3, debt. The middle class addiction. Put it this way, being middle class and being in debt go together like peanut butter and jelly, except this sandwich eats you. Credit cards, car loans, student loans, mortgages. Debt isn't just common in the middle class, it's practically a lifestyle. You don't own your house, the bank does. You don't own your car, the lender does. And you definitely don't own your education. Sally Mae owns you. And that's not even the crazy part. The fact of the matter is, debt is normalized. Middle-class culture tells you it's good debt, like, congrats, you're $40,000 in the hole for a degree you don't use. Don't worry, it builds character. Here, let me give you a fun but kind of ridiculous stat I came across recently. The average American household has over $100,000 in debt. That's like carrying a financial backpack filled with bricks, and then wondering why you're tired all the time. And the system doesn't just allow it, it encourages it. Ever notice how banks beg you to upgrade to a bigger mortgage? Or how colleges pitch degrees like they're car salesmen? Or how every car commercial says, only $399 a month. like they're selling you the payment, not the car. That's not freedom. That's indentured servitude with heated seats. The truth is, debt makes you a slave to your paycheck. You can't quit your job, you can't take risks, you can't build wealth. Because you're chained to monthly payments like a financial ankle monitor. Middle class, more like minimum freedom. And before we continue, when you finish watching this video, go back and watch our series on the journey to financial freedom. We've created specific videos to help align you with your goals to build true generational wealth. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel and consider becoming a member to always stay updated. Now here's where it gets worse. Debt isn't just about the money you owe today. It's about the money you never get to invest tomorrow. Which brings us to the biggest wealth trap of them all. The middle class doesn't build assets. They collect liabilities. Reason number 4, the asset trap. Buying stuff that owns you. A few years ago, I finally realized the middle class playbook, and it goes like this. Work hard, get paid, buy stuff. New car, check. Bigger house, check. Fancy appliances, check. But here's the catch. Almost none of it actually makes you richer. It's liabilities disguised as assets. Take the family home, for example. Everyone calls it an investment. But unless you're renting out rooms or flipping properties, your home is not an asset. It's a 30-year debt hole that eats your money through interest. Property taxes, insurance, repairs, and a leaky roof that costs $5,000 at the worst possible time. Robert Kiyosaki said it best. The middle class buys liabilities and calls them assets. The wealthy? They buy assets that put money in their pocket, real estate, stocks, businesses. Think of it this way. The middle class buys toys to look rich. The rich buy tools to get richer. It's the difference between buying a jet ski you use 3 weekends a year versus buying an Airbnb that pays for your vacations. One drains your bank account, the other fills it. So when you see a middle class family flexing their dream home, understand this, they don't own it, the bank does. And they'll be working until 65 just to finish paying it off. And if you think liabilities are bad, just wait. Because even when the middle class does get a raise, they don't escape the trap. They fall for the nastiest trick of all, lifestyle creep. Reason number 5, lifestyle creep. Upgrading your life, not your wealth. Okay, let's shake things up a bit and play a game. Let's say you get a raise at work. What's the first thing most middle class people do? The answer is simple. They reward themselves. New car, bigger house, nicer dinners. Instead of using extra income to invest, they upgrade their lifestyle so the new money vanishes. And if you've been following our channel, you already know it's called lifestyle creep, and it's a silent killer of wealth. Basically, it goes like this. You earn $60,000 a year, then get a bump to $70,000. Instead of investing the $10,000 difference, you move into a pricier apartment, start eating out 3 times a week, nights a week, and finance a car with heated cup holders. Fast forward 12 months, and you're broke at $70,000, just like you were at $60,000. Here's the truth, and I want everyone to understand this clearly. If your lifestyle keeps rising with your income, you'll always feel broke, no matter how much you earn. It's why some middle-class families making $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, the wealthy play it differently. They use raises to buy assets. The middle class uses raises to buy comfort. Guess who ends up winning in the long run? Lifestyle creep is like adding weight to your treadmill. You're running harder than ever, but you're still in the same place. Except now you're sweating in Gucci sneakers. And here's where it gets really twisted. Lifestyle creep doesn't just keep you broke, it keeps you working forever. Which brings us to the harshest middle-class reality of them all. You're trapped in the 9-to-5 until your body gives out. Reason number 6, the 9-to-5 trap. Working until you drop. Now this is one of the most important points, and unfortunately it's also one of the most common mistakes I see folks live up to. Here's the middle-class promise. Get a stable job, grind 40 hours a week, and one day you'll retire comfortably. Sounds nice, right? The problem? It's a lie. Middle-class workers trade time for money. The worst deal in history. Every paycheck depends on punching in and punching out. Miss work, miss money. Get sick, miss money. Want to take a month off? Forget it. You're chained to your job, and here's the kicker. Your boss probably makes more money in a month than you do all year. Why? Because they own the system. You work for money. They make money, work for them. And let's talk retirement. For the middle class, it's less about sipping pina coladas on a beach and more about praying, Social Security doesn't run out before you do. The average retirement savings in America, only about $88,000. That's not enough to live off for decades. That's barely enough for a few medical bills and a Costco membership. The sad truth? Middle-class workers don't retire. They just switch from a cubicle job to a greeter job at Walmart. And if that doesn't sound depressing enough, let's talk about what fuels this entire trap. The culture of consumption. Because while you're working harder, you're also being brainwashed to spend harder. Reason number 7, the consumption trap, brainwashed by marketing. Now let me explain to you the next thing, and I'll go over it quickly because I've explained it many times, and I'll explain it again in the next part of the video. Basically, the middle class isn't just stuck financially. They're trained to stay stuck. From the moment you wake up, you're being sold something. Ads on your phone, billboards on your drive to work, commercials during your favorite show. Every brand is whispering in your ear, buy this, upgrade that, you deserve it. And what's sad is the middle class listens. Why? Because consumer culture tells you your value is tied to what you own. Drive a nicer car? People respect you more. Wear designer clothes? You look successful. Upgrade your phone every year? You're keeping up. It's all an illusion. The average middle-class family has a garage full of stuff, gadgets, clothes, toys, subscriptions, and none of it makes them wealthy. In fact, it's the opposite. It keeps them broke. Let me fill you in on a cold, harsh truth. The average American household spends $1,200 a year on subscription services. That's Netflix, Spotify, Hulu, DoorDash, Disney+, gym memberships they don't use, and 3 random apps they forgot they signed up for. That's $1,200 that could have gone into stocks or a side hustle. Instead, it's gone. One auto charge at a time. The truth? The rich don't flex with consumption. They flex with freedom. But the middle class? They're tricked into thinking a $1,200 iPhone means they're winning, while they're financing it on a payment plan. And if you thought mindless consumption was bad, just wait. Because the middle class isn't just losing to advertisers, they're also losing to inflation, the sneakiest wealth thief of them all. Reason number 8, inflation, the silent pay cut. Here we go. I know you hate it, but it's something we got to talk about right now because this point is critical. Inflation is like the middle class's worst roommate. It eats your food, never pays rent, and somehow gets louder every year. Seriously, it's like prices rise, but your paycheck barely moves. You're told you got a 3% raise at work, but when inflation is 6%, congrats, you just got a pay cut in disguise. And here's the thing, the poor already know they're struggling. The rich beat inflation by owning assets that grow faster than prices. But the middle class, they get hammered. Groceries, gas, utilities, rent, everything climbs, but your income lags. A gallon of milk that cost $2.50 a few years ago now costs $4. Housing prices have skyrocketed over 40% in the last decade. Meanwhile, wages have crawled up like a snail with arthritis. Inflation punishes savers too. If you're middle class and stashing money in a savings account earning 0.01% interest, inflation is eating it alive. It's like putting water in a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how fast you pour, it still drains. And if inflation wasn't enough to crush the middle class, here's where it gets even darker. Because the system doesn't just take your money while you're alive, it traps your kids too. Reason number 9, generational stagnation. The trap gets passed down. All right, I need to address something real quick, so please listen closely. Most middle-class families don't pass down wealth. They pass down debt, habits, and stress. Think about it. The wealthy leave their kids assets, stocks, real estate, businesses. The poor often don't have much to pass at all. But the middle class, they hand down a mortgage, some student loans, maybe a car loan, and the cycle continues. Middle-class parents often teach their kids the same playbook. Get good grades, go to college, get a safe job, buy a house, retire at 65. But in today's world, that playbook doesn't work. Tuition costs are up 169% since 1980. Wages are stagnant, and the job market is unstable. So what happens? Kids graduate into debt, copy their parents' lifestyle, and step right back onto the treadmill. It's like a generational hamster wheel. The middle class isn't just stuck, they're raising the next generation to be stuck too. And that leads us to the final, and maybe most brutal, reason why being middle class is worse than you think. You're not actually free, you're trapped by golden handcuffs. Reason number 10, the golden handcuffs. Comfort that keeps you stuck. If there's one piece of advice I want you to take from this video, it's this. The scariest part of being middle class isn't being broke. It's being comfortable enough to never escape. You've got a decent car, a decent house, maybe a yearly vacation. Life isn't amazing, but it's not terrible either. And that's the trap. Comfort kills ambition. You're not desperate enough to fight for more, and you're not free enough to stop working. You just exist for 40 years. It's like being in a prison cell with Netflix, DoorDash, and a decent mattress. Sure, you're surviving, but you're not free. Meanwhile, the wealthy keep climbing. The poor keep hustling. But the middle class, they stay exactly where they are, because the golden handcuffs feel just secure enough not to break free. And that's why the middle class isn't just a financial class, it's a psychological trap. The truth is, the middle class isn't the dream. It's the trap that keeps you from ever escaping. If you're tired of running on the treadmill, comment the words, "I'm upper class" below. Because the only way out is to stop playing the middle class game and start playing the wealth game. As a matter of fact, there are actually 10 purchases the middle class buys every day that completely destroy their chances for wealth. We break it down in this next video. Just click the video on the screen and we'll see you in the next one.